This episode of The Boat Geeks is sponsored by The Boater's Guide, a free app for Pacific Northwest boaters. The Boater's Guide is adventure and information, right at your fingertips, right when you need it. Find your happy place with The Boater's Guide, a free download on your phone or tablet in the App Store and Google Play.
On this episode of The Boat Geeks, we have Rick Henson, who is not affiliated with Jim Henson or the Muppets, but he is affiliated with ValvTect.
Ooh, you pronounced that properly, too.
I did. And
ValvTect.
I made a point of getting that out there because my whole life, I thought it was ValvTech.
Yeah, and I think maybe half the people in the world call it ValvTech.
Yeah.
But it is ValvTect.
And ValvTect is very important for our engines.
That's
and as
right.
Power boaters, engines are a big part of our boating existence.
They're kind of important.
Yeah,
so
otherwise,
we need to feed them the best food possible.
Or we're not going anywhere potentially.
Right.
But even for sailboats, it's important.
Yeah. They have maybe smaller tanks, but they use far less fuel, and sometimes it sits there for season after season. So the stability issue is very important. And we learned a lot.
We did. Rick was very nice, very helpful. So here it is, Rick Henson with ValvTect.
From beautiful Port Townsend, Washington, a Victorian seaport on the Salish Sea, and recorded aboard the motor vessel Traveler. It's The Boat Geeks with Daeron and Darren.
We're the Boat Geeks, whatever floats your boat. We're the Boat Geeks, it's the boat that floats that we love the most. Yes, we love the boats, we're the Boat Geeks, whatever floats your boat.
Welcome to the next episode of The Boat Geeks. I am your host, Darren.
And I'm your other host, Darren.
And today's special guest is Rick Henson, Regional Sales Manager for ValvTect Petroleum Products. Welcome to The Boat Geeks.
Happy to be here.
Great to have you.
Yeah.
We're going to learn. We're going to learn today, and that's always a great thing for us.
Well, I am a wealth of misinformation.
As are we. But one of our goals with the Boat Geeks podcast has always been to inform ourselves and our viewers and our listeners to products or services available to boaters in the Pacific Northwest. And you, sir, represent at least a couple products that I know boaters are aware of.
Well, and, many boaters have heard of ValvTect fuel.
In fact, non-boaters. Everybody's heard of ValvTect, yes.
And so Darren and I know nothing about fuel other than we put it in our boat and our cars.
Yes.
And it goes.
And it goes.
And it goes, hopefully.
The only thing I really know is we've owned this boat for 12 years. We've put 4,000 miles under the keel. So we've gone through quite a few gallons of diesel.
Sure.
And we only put ValvTect diesel in this boat. And we only use ValvTect gasoline for our outboard and our backup little Honda generator. And that's because that's kind of the conventional wisdom that a lot of the boaters around here, you got to use the ValvTect fuel. And well, that's all we've ever done, and we really don't know why other than that. So,
and it's handy that Port Ludlow here, where we are, just happens to have it. So every time we fill up, and same. I've only owned my boat for 4 years, but it's only been ValvTect. But why are we doing that?
So first of all, Port Ludlow, what a great facility.
Yeah.
This is my second visit here in 3 years, and I specifically requested it this year so I could do our annual quality fuel testing and also spend the night and
Excellent.
enjoy the whole area. So if you haven't been to Port Ludlow, I highly recommend it.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
We love it here.
You might even run into these guys.
Maybe.
Too.
Yeah.
Are you over at the inn then?
Yeah, I stayed at the inn
Nice
last
place.
night, and I'm often running to some other of our sites today to do the same thing that I did this morning, and that was one of the things that ValvTect does, and I guess maybe we tell you what the product does and then how we back it up.
Good.
So both our gas additive and our diesel additive have a top tier registered detergent in it. So this helps keep your injectors, your carburetors, your intakes all nice and clean. It also helps increase your fuel consumption, or decrease your fuel
Right,
consumption.
yeah.
Let's go that
Fuel-
way.
Increase your fuel
Efficiency.
Efficiency.
Yeah. It gives you better throttle response, and also gives you better emissions. And everyone's all about better emissions, but when you're on the back of a boat and you got that exhaust going, it's kind of nice to not have as much exhaust fumes. The other thing, so I'll start with our diesel side of it. It also has a fuel biocide in it. It is EPA registered. It's actually called a pesticide, but biocide sounds more friendly.
Sure.
And so this product helps prevent the growth of algae and other bacterias in your fuel, which is very susceptible, especially out on the water. You're breathing in more moisture off the air. And so diesel is more susceptible to growing algae and bugs in there if it's not treated properly. The other thing that the other benefits of our diesel additive is it has a cetane improver. So again, better throttle response.
Yeah.
It's kind of cetane is like a octane
rating,
but on the diesel side. And so you get a little bit better throttle response, and again, that's helping your fuel efficiency on there. It has added lubricity, and it also helps remove water. It keeps the water entrained. Instead of letting it go down to the bottom, it keeps it floating, and then it gets rid of the water through combustion.
Wow.
And so it helps keep your fuel fresh. Because of all the benefits that our product does, it stabilizes your fuel for up to 2 years also.
Now that I have a question about that, because on this boat, we have our main fuel tank is just a little over 600 gallons.
Mm-hmm.
And on a typical year, we might put in 100 to 200. So we never have it full because that's expensive to fill.
Yes, it is.
But we're not fully circulating through our fuel, we think, on an annual basis, but we're refreshing it often enough. And I've been told, because we use ValvTect fuel, that we don't need additional additives because it's already
to ride off of that same thought process. I remember getting into our boat and reading the forums and so forth, and fuel, and I was trying to figure out what fuel am I supposed to use, and everybody said if you're using non-ValvTect that you have to add all these additives yourself.
Right.
And my choice for choosing ValvTect was because I'm lazy, and I'm like, I don't want to do this every single time. So elaborate maybe if you can a little bit on what.
Sure, it's all in there, and the nice thing is because Port Ludlow treats their fuel in their tanks, so it's transfer of ownership of the quality of the fuel. So you're starting off with the quality fuel, and then it transfers into your vessel, and you're getting the other benefits that maybe the tanks don't need sitting there, other than the biocide and keeping any moisture suspended. But you're getting the lubricity, the detergent that we talked about. So
cool.
There's no need to, if you're shutting down for the season, you don't have to do anything with your fuel. When COVID came, it was a very helpful for a lot of boaters, especially in the Pacific Northwest, because I got calls from individual boaters that were calling and say, "Hey, I'm at such and such marina. They tell me they're using your product, and I don't have to worry about it sitting there because it's been sitting there now for 6 months.
Right.
I haven't even been able to go to the dock."
Sure.
And it's like, "Is that the only place you fill up?" And he goes, "Yeah." And it's like, "You're absolutely fine.
Wow. Yeah.
Your fuel's good. It's in there."
That's excellent.
It's kind of like the commercial. It's in there. It's in there. It's in there. And it is. It's the number one selling. ValvTect marine fuel additives are the number one selling marine fuel in the U.S.
Wow.
As far as brand goes. We're all over the U.S. Florida is huge boating market, and
Yes.
they use our products there quite a bit too.
Mm-hmm.
Here locally, we have some selected marinas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm jumping. So
Sure.
let me get back to the gas.
Yes.
now, 'cause we kind of covered
we
the
covered
diesel.
diesel. Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the gas, so we don't need the cetane because it's gas. You don't put cetane in cetane improver in gas. That's bad.
Yeah.
But it does have added lubricity. It will prevent phase separation if you're using gas that has ethanol in it. It will prevent phase separation.
Oh,
It has the detergent that I talked about earlier, and it also helps remove water in the fuel, and it stabilizes for up to 2 years.
So what is phase separation? Is that like a density, like over time they'll separate from each other?
Ethanol in particular attracts water.
Okay.
It's kind of like, and then ethanol and gosh, we're on the water.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So this will help prevent the fuel and the water from separating.
So it keeps it all mixed properly.
Keeps it all mixed properly.
Yeah.
It keeps your gaskets from drying out. Some ethanol fuels will leave a white residue on your injectors or on the needles on your carbs, things like that. This keeps it from happening. Keeps everything clean.
now
So,
the layperson term that I hear applied to ethanol fuel, especially in outboards and like, is it gums it up.
yes.
Is that essentially?
Yeah,
what you're-
absolutely.
We don't want to gum up our.
No, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound good.
Not good. Not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because with the Boater's Guide, we release the fuel updates on a regular basis, and it's a very popular section of the app. And people always want to know where the ValvTect is in the Pacific Northwest. So obviously, it's sought out. The marinas that have it, I'm sure, are more popular.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you're good with it, I'll jump into our quality control program.
Absolutely.
yeah,
Let's
please.
hear
That's
about it.
part of what makes ValvTect
Absolutely.
even gooder.
Yeah.
If you will.
Let's hear about the goodest.
So we at least once a year we go either myself or some of our other reps or the fuel distributors that are supplying the marinas go and they check the fuel tanks for water, and then also on the diesel we do a little test where we dip. It's like a petri dish. We dip this little test strip. It checks for bacteria and mold. We hold it in there for about 20 seconds, pull it out, and then we put it back in the tube, store it somewhere where it's nice and dark and not hot, not cold, just, like 50 to 70 degrees, and let it grow. If anything's going to grow for like 24 to 36 hours.
Wow.
And then we have this little chart that shows for both, like I said, like for bacteria or mold, if there's anything in that fuel, it'll grow on these strips and show up. If that happens, then we take corrective action to help remove. We have a stronger biocide if needed. But normally this is an extra benefit to the marinas that offer this product because we will also give them a certificate that says, "Hey, you passed the test."
Yeah.
We also put little stickers on the fuel pumps so that the boaters can see. Oh, wow,
Good. Yeah, I've seen that over here on the pumps.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's dated, so it's almost like a Department of Weights and Measures sticker, but this is a fuel quality. You're just extra assurance that when you're paying for this fuel, you're getting something that maybe not available, on up the river or up the channel.
Yep.
Or,
Get it while you can.
yeah.
That is, again, being a lazy person as I am, it's good to know that you're doing that you're being proactive so that we don't, on our end, have to be so concerned with the fuel that we're putting in.
And I imagine that for many of the fuel docks that you guys provide the fuel to, they run through.
Oh,
their
can't even imagine
fuel.
how much.
I mean, thousands of gallons a year, probably. So you don't have to really worry so much about
it's sitting
the
there.
fuel sitting there for years.
Well, some marinas, they churn their fuel really quick. And then we have other marinas, especially inland, that maybe are only open for 3 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Minnesota, up in there, they're Michigan, some of those areas, they're only open for a little while.
Sure.
And so it goes back to that stabilization again.
Yeah.
Yep.
The fuel's
That's
good.
a better benefit for the fuel docks that use
Absolutely.
less fuel. That makes
Absolutely.
sense. I was going the wrong way with that in my head. So,
But
but
then
we're learning.
we self-corrected.
Yeah.
So very interesting information about all this. I'm far from being a scientist, but I'm so glad that the people that are in the know are taking care of this product, and it makes sense hearing all that why it's such a popular product down here, and why everybody is
and we
wanting
feel
to know where it is.
We feel even better, knowing. I mean, yes, we heard. Other boaters like, oh yeah, you got to use ValvTect, and now we can actually say, well, here's why.
Here's why.
We know, or for people that are watching, they'll
Yes.
know why, and it makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. We typically at the top of the podcast, we do a little segment just talking about maybe some boating experience. Talking to you prior to the podcast, you do have some boating history.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, let's hear about. Hey, any boating history, any boat size, we are into it because we are the boat geeks.
Even if it's a stand-up paddleboard.
Even if it is a stand-up
still a
paddleboard,
boat.
if it floats, we
takes
love
effort.
it. Yeah,
and I got the body to prove that there's not a lot of effort put into my boating. But my earlier experience, for a while, I had a boat up on the slough in between Lake Sammamish and Lake Washington. It was about a mile up Lake Washington. So I worked for Boeing, and I get off at 3:15 in the afternoon. And I'm down, boom, in the boat, bam, out on the lake, and we're done skiing by the time everyone else comes out.
Oh, nice!
Absolutely loved it. Did some fishing on Lake Washington. I did a lot of boating in Montana too, on Flathead Lake. And,
that's a big lake, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a pretty good sized lake, and not for when the weather comes up. My first boat was a 1960 White House, and if you've never heard of a White House, it had fins.
Oh my gosh!
It had fins on the back.
We're gonna have to look a picture up.
And
if we can find one, we'll put it up on the
you
screen.
say 1950 or 60?
1960.
60 White House. Okay, I'll have to look that up. That sounds very interesting.
That sounds so
I love the
cool.
old classics.
Yeah,
for sure.
and they had a 75 horse Evinrude with the dual carb, and to get this fat boy up, we'd have to open up the little cover where it's access to the carb, so it get that much more air, so it could get me up on one ski. Usually we had to do a running start too, but it was fun.
Nice.
I missed the boating. I get to my favorite part of working for this company is that I get to go to a lot of marinas.
Oh yeah,
I love walking the marinas and
dock walks. It's the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm all over now. And
that's cool.
California coast on up, Oregon coast and inland and Texas and Florida.
So you're around the culture all the time, the boat culture.
Love it.
Yeah.
And show me a grumpy boater.
Right?
There isn't.
There aren't very many. I knew a guy once, though. His nickname was Captain Curmudgeon.
Yeah.
But I think he did it on purpose.
He stood out.
No,
I agree. That's, my happy place is here at the marina or at any marina.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's, people are just, boaters are a happy people, happy bunch. And why not? Even on a cloudy day, even on an overcast day, it's beautiful around the boats. And that sounds like you had a lot of fun with boats. You said you did some fishing on Lake Washington. Did you catch anything? We have yet to have some professional fishermen on the podcast, which is something that we're working towards. Yeah. But what did you fish for?
I'm far from.
Yeah, we're terrible as well.
I just and this was this dates back a little bit, so the information was basically word of mouth.
Yeah.
And used like a flasher that was bigger than my fishing pole.
Sure.
No, to answer your question, no.
Yeah.
Not in my boat.
But you know what? But it's just fun sitting out there and it's the best.
It's pouring rain and I'm just loving it.
Yeah.
Got friend or my dog with me and just either trolling or usually was trolling.
Yeah.
I would love to do that again. I keep saying, we're
someday.
gonna do it again. Someday.
Well, we can ask Corey to get you a 30-foot slip, and then you can park something over here.
Well, I'm sure Corey will be listening to this. I told her that we're going to be talking about Port Ludlow, and so she has to listen in. So we're going to put her on the spot right
There
now.
you go.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, I think we mentioned Ludlow in almost every podcast because
yeah.
we're so happy to be here for this to be our home base. So you're here at Ludlow today. What are can you mention maybe a few other marinas in the area up here that you'll be working with, or where people can find ValvTect?
Sure. So Narrows Marina in Tacoma,
Mhm.
Swantown, Port of Olympia.
Yep.
I was just there yesterday doing fuel testing. I'll be at Port of Bremerton later this afternoon.
Great.
And Narrows, and then I'll be swinging up to Foss Harbor and in Tacoma, and then swinging on up to Seattle Boat Company on both Lake Union and Lake Washington, both their locations.
Well, we'll put a list of ValvTect fuel docks on the screen so that people watching and listening, I don't know, we'll put it in the description somewhere. But yeah, it's good to know where the ValvTect fuel is.
Also, I think we're going to have to seek out a picture of a 1960 White House to put at that
absolutely.
segment too. I want everybody to see what that is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because the fins were just phenomenal, and it had bench seats in it. So if you wanted to get to the back, you had to crawl over to bench seats. There's no floor; it was just fiberglass.
Yeah.
That's cool.
The floor was fiberglass, so you hit some hard wakes.
You're feeling it.
You're watching. You're watching it.
Oh,
yeah, you're watching it kind of.
Hold together, baby. Hold together.
Yeah, I finally took the seats out and put in seats from a Astral van that were low back,
custom job,
not high, but they were back to back Astro van seats. They were wonderful, comfortable. And then I had my own built-in center aisle that way by putting in the bucket seats.
There you go.
good times, man. So now if people are wanting, hopefully we've educated some of our viewers and watchers on the ValvTect, but if people are wanting to know more, is there a website that they can go to?
Sure. So they can go to valvtect.com.
Okay.
And we have a search site on there. So right now it's by zip code, which is kind of cumbersome. You know, well, what's the zip code? Well, you got to look that up first. But we're changing that and going back to location. If you're in the Kingston area, okay, where's my nearest fuel dock, branded fuel dock at? Also, for the diesel, if you cannot get it at your fuel dock, or if you want to take our product with you, you're going on a trip somewhere, you want to make sure that you can add to it. BioGuard Plus 6 is our brother product.
Right.
Okay.
And it's basically identical. It's kind of like a land use, or marketed towards the land use for generators. We move a lot into generators, like in Texas right now, and because of, again, it stabilizes and cleans and does a lot of things. But you can get a bottle of that. One bottle treats 375 gallons.
Oh, good.
And so that way you can take it with you. We have boaters in California that when they go down to Mexico, they take bottles with them and then treat their diesel with it.
I can understand that. I don't want to put anything other than ValvTect in my boat, and I'd be concerned if I was going somewhere.
I mean, clean fuel in other parts of the world is always a big issue. So that helps. Yeah.
Okay, so that's valvtect.com. That's just so people know, because I was mispronouncing it earlier. It's ValvTect.com. So you can go get more information, educate yourself.
So I mean, we have been, we've only gone as far as, we haven't gone to Alaska yet. But we've been up to the Broughtons, and we did take on fuel up there. In Canada, it's not like it's the same basic fuel that we get here, not ValvTect. But it would have been, I would have liked to have had a bottle of that. What's it called again?
BioGuard Plus 6.
BioGuard Plus 6. Next time we go north, we'll have a bottle of that on board.
So you can find it on Amazon, or West Marine. It's West Marine stocks it. We have some other locations coming on board. If I'm doing my job correctly, we have some other locations here in the
Do,
Northwest that we'll be bringing it
Do
in.
ValvTect fuel docks that also sell oil and other items? Do they carry it?
Some
do.
do.
Okay.
Yeah.
They
some
should.
do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But thankfully, it is available on Amazon if
Yeah.
you don't have something locally. Good resource, good information.
So I was just thinking that another really strong benefit to having ValvTect fuel in your tanks, not just for when you're using your boat and you're underway and you're drawing down your fuel and drawing in moist marine air, which has water vapor in it, which we want to keep out, which we've talked about in another podcast, the H2 out fuel guards,
Absolutely.
which are in the air vent line that keeps moisture from. But it's not just using your boat, because we have the diurnal tides. So twice a day, even if your boat is just sitting
there, right?
for 6 months, 8
Like
months,
mine.
whatever, twice a day, the tides and the moisture and the air is coming in and out
Oh, sure. You
of
have temperature fluctuation.
temperature and pressure. So
Mhm.
there's always breathing, and knowing that you have ValvTect fuel like we do sitting there, we've probably got right now 300 gallons sitting in the tank, and I'm just really happy to know that it's
Right.
stable.
And you know about the product H2 Out, and you
Yeah.
like
I do. And I think that's a wonderful idea. Anything you can do to help keep your tanks from breathing moisture
Yeah.
in the air.
for sure.
Some is good, more is gooder.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's a great combination, actually.
Cool.
You can rest assured when you're using ValvTect and H2 Out on top of that,
Yeah.
that you are
Yeah.
taken care of. Yeah.
Well, we
And guys,
learned.
Yeah, and guys, before we go, I got great parting gifts.
Oh.
I want to thank you for having me on. Your own custom floating keychains.
Thank you. I will test it out because I drop stuff all the time.
Oh, look
I'm
what's
sure.
on the back. ValvTech.com, if we forget.
There you go. ValvTech.com. Rick
Thank you, Rick.
Henson, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for educating us.
Yeah.
Thank you for educating our viewers and our listeners. It's always nice to know why we love something.
Yeah.
I knew that never put anything other than ValvTech into my boat, but now I know why.
Well, and if you have to, like
Then
we
you get
did,
the additive,
then you get the
which is called again.
BioGuard Plus.
BioGuard.
BioGuard Plus 6. I
And we'll
remember
have
the
that
plus
on the
six.
screen
Yeah.
or something. We'll
Get
have it
that.
down below in our show notes. So thank you very much for being here. And
My pleasure, guys.
we
Appreciate
hope
it.
you have a good rest of your time in the Pacific Northwest here. You are from Idaho.
I live just outside of Twin Falls, Idaho now.
Okay.
I'm originally from Montana.
Okay.
And then I spent, like I mentioned, time in working for the Big B up
Big
in
B,
Everett.
yeah.
That's right.
That was back in the days we were throwing a 747 out every 3 days. And then we introduced the 767.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Yeah, that was back then.
That's history.
Yeah.
Better time to be with Boeing.
Let's go put some more fuel in this boat and
That's right.
and we'll catch
Get
up
some
with Mark
ValvTect.
Bunzel, who's on his way to Alaska
Alaska.
right now. So let's go catch up with him.
That's right. Thank you very much. You have a great day.
guys.
And thank you for checking out the podcast. See you next time.
We're the boat geeks. Whatever floats your boat. We're the boat geeks. It's the boat that floats that we love the most. Yes, we love the boats. We're the boat geeks. Whatever floats your boat. Walk on the water, float on the sea, crossing the oceans between you and me. The wind in our hair, the salt on the breeze, bringing us closer, life on the sea. We're the boat geeks, whatever floats your boat. We're the boat geeks, it's the boat that floats that we love the most. Yes, we love the boats, we're the boat geeks. Whatever floats your boat. We walk on the water, float on the sea, crossing the oceans brings you to me. Feel the wind in our hair, the salt on the breeze, brings us all closer, life on the sea. Whatever floats your boat. We're the boat geeks. It's the boat that floats that we love the most. Yes, we love the boats. We're the boat geeks. Whatever floats your boat.